In this video, we'll discuss about 3 developmental bone diseases. So the first one is rickets, second osteoporosis, and third one is osteopetrosis. Let's start with the first topic, that is rickets. So rickets basically is a manifestation of vitamin D deficiency or its defective metabolism. And the basic defect is impairment of mineralization of bone. So whenever osteoid is laid by an osteoblast, calcium and phosphate has to go and sit in that osteoid, right? So that is defective in rickets bar osteomalacia. So this disease in children it is called rickets, whereas in adults it is called osteomalacia. There are 2 important sources of vitamin D. So the first one is sunlight. So adequate sunlight is basically 40% of surface area of skin exposed for at least 20 minutes, that too in midday sunlight. Dietary source wise, plant source gives vitamin D2 and animal source gives vitamin D3. Let us now try to remember the causes of rickets bar osteomalacia using the pathway of metabolism of vitamin D. So 2 main sources I told you. The first is sunlight, the second is diet. So whenever sunlight falls on skin, 7-dehydrocholesterol that is there in the subcutaneous tissue gets converted to D3, vitamin D3. Diet also by itself gives vitamin D2 and vitamin D3, and this will get absorbed. So D3 from sunlight exposure as well as D2 and D3 from dietary source. These will go to liver. In liver there is an enzyme called 25-hydroxylase that causes 25-hydroxylation of D3 giving rise to 25-hydroxycholecalciferol. This then goes to kidney, and in kidney there is 1-alpha-hydroxylase which gives one more OH group to this 25-hydroxycholecalciferol to make it 1,25-dihydroxycholecalciferol, which is the active form of vitamin D3. So coming to the causes using this flow chart. So if there is inadequate sunlight exposure, there can be rickets or osteomalacia. Second cause would be inadequate dietary intake. And the third cause would be the intestine which is unable to absorb the D2 and D3 given by a dietary source. Fourth one could be a generalized condition like liver cirrhosis, wherein the liver isn't able to do that 25-hydroxylation. Fifth one could be a kidney disease, for example chronic renal failure, wherein 1-alpha-hydroxylation is not happening in the kidney. So these are all some of the common causes of rickets bar osteomalacia. There are some other rare causes of rickets osteomalacia. Therapy with phenytoin, which is an anti-epileptic or an anticonvulsant drug. Second one is receptor mutation, wherein even though there is adequate vitamin D, it is unable to act on cells. Let us now discuss briefly about the effects of vitamin D. So what does vitamin D do basically? In small intestine, it causes calcium absorption, so thereby increasing the blood levels of calcium. In kidney, it causes calcium reabsorption, again increasing the serum levels of calcium. In blood, it causes activation of osteoclasts. So osteoclasts are derived from monocytes, right? So monocyte to osteoclast development, vitamin D, it encourages that. Lastly, in osteoblasts, it helps in synthesis of osteocalcin. So what this osteocalcin does is, once osteoblasts lay the osteoid, for calcium and phosphate to go sit there, this osteocalcin is very important. Let us now talk about the pathophysiology of rickets bar osteomalacia. So the list of causes you have already seen. So because of those causes, there is reduced vitamin D3 and there is reduced serum calcium. That is because intestinal absorption is not taking place in the absence of vitamin D3. So since there is reduced serum calcium, what happens is your parathyroid glands, they'll start secreting more hormone, that is parathormone or PTH. So the net effect of PTH is to increase serum calcium and to reduce serum phosphate. So in bones, what they do is they'll cause calcium and phosphate reabsorption, whereas in kidney what they'll do is they'll cause phosphate excretion. However, for mineralized osteoid to form, you know that both calcium and phosphate are necessary. Although calcium is present, phosphate is not there. That is why mineralization is not happening properly. Let us now understand the morphology of rickets, how it develops. The blue thing that you are seeing here is basically the growth plate, which is the cartilage. So initially the chondroblasts, which are the precursor cells of the cartilage, they keep on proliferating, and this leads to an increase in the thickness of the growth plate. Further, what happens is the cartilage, it starts entering the medullary cavity or the bone marrow. Later on, osteoblasts will start acting and they will lay down osteoid. Since phosphate is not available, the mineralization of osteoid is not happening properly. Because of this, the growth plate area, it will be susceptible to various damages, like in the form of mechanical stress. Whenever there is mechanical stress, it undergoes numerous microfractures, which leads to a deformed skeleton. So the deformity is seen as lateral expansion of the growth plate. Here is an X-ray image of a child suffering from rickets. So normally X-rays do not pass through calcified bone. Here, however, there is no proper mineralization, which is why you are seeing that haziness. These are all the clinical features of rickets. So the first is bow legs, then there is craniotabes, then there is frontal bossing, rachitic rosary, pigeon chest deformity, and then there is lordosis. Let us see the pictures of each of these clinical features. So the first image that you are seeing to your left, so that is an image of bow legs. The second is craniotabes, where there is softening of the skull. To your left, there is an image which shows frontal bossing. The image to your right shows rachitic rosary, which basically is improper calcification of the osteochondral junction in the ribs. In this slide, the image to your left is a normal appearing shape of the chest, whereas the image to your right is pigeon chest. The other name is pectus carinatum. Coming to the morphology of osteomalacia, you already know that osteomalacia is the manifestation of the same disease in an adult. So osteomalacia is abnormal bone remodeling, and contour of the bone is not affected since growth plate is already fused in the adults. However, the bone becomes weak and it becomes vulnerable to multiple fractures. Microscopy wise, both in osteomalacia and in rickets, what you are going to see is pink stained osteoid, that is unmineralized or uncalcified osteoid. If calcium were to be there in osteoid, the color would be sort of bluish. Since it is not there, it appears pinkish. The second topic for this video is osteoporosis. Osteopenia and osteoporosis are parts of the spectrum of the same disease. Osteopenia basically means reduced bone mass, whereas osteoporosis means osteopenia to such an extent that is enough to cause fracture. Radiologically also these two have definitions. So osteopenia is less than -1 standard deviation bone mass, whereas osteoporosis is less than -2.5 standard deviations in the bone mass. Osteoporosis could either be localized or generalized, and generalized osteoporosis can further be subclassified as primary and secondary osteoporosis. Here is a list of some of the causes for generalized osteoporosis. So under primary, it is idiopathic, senile or postmenopausal. These are some of the common causes of osteoporosis. Under secondary, we can further classify it as endocrine, for which the causes are hyperparathyroidism, hyper and or hypothyroidism. Under gastrointestinal, it could be malnutrition or malabsorption. Under drugs, it could be alcohol or some of the chemotherapeutic agents. Under miscellaneous, it could be immobilization or osteogenesis imperfecta. Human beings achieve peak bone mass by the age of 30 years. After 30 years, what happens is every time the bone undergoes remodeling, a small portion of the bone mass is lost, so which accounts to 0.7% per year. There are various factors affecting this loss. So some factors, what they'll do is they'll accelerate the loss of bone mass. The first factor is aging. As age increases, the capacity of precursor cells of the bone to replicate, it reduces. Second one is osteoblast activity, also the bone laying cell activity reduces. Third one is response to growth factors also reduces. Next is physical activity. So physical activity is an important aspect for the development of peak bone mass. So if an individual bears more weight, then he is likely to have a higher peak bone mass. And less physical activity, that is less weight bearing exercises, will cause less peak bone mass. Classic example is cycling versus running. In cycling, people do not bear as much weight as they do when they run. So that is why cycling is said to cause osteopenia, whereas running will increase the bone mass. Third is genetic factors. Defects or mutations in some of the genes like LRP5, OPG, rank L. So these will cause reduced bone mass. Fourth one is nutrition. Reduced calcium intake as well as reduced vitamin D intake will lead to less bone mass. Lastly, hormonal factors. So estrogen is protective for bones. So as soon as ladies undergo menopause, when estrogen level decreases, it causes reduced bone mass. In textbooks, you may find these two terms. The first is low turnover osteoporosis and the second is high turnover osteoporosis. So low turnover osteoporosis is another name for senile osteoporosis. So it's a long process, whereas postmenopausal osteoporosis is high turnover osteoporosis. The reason is osteoblastic activity and osteoclastic activity both are increased in postmenopausal osteoporosis. However, osteoclastic activity is a bit more. So that is why the turnover is said to be more, which is why they call it high turnover osteoporosis. Coming to the clinical features of osteoporosis and osteopenia, in definition itself, we saw that osteoporosis was reduction of bone mass to a level at which fractures could occur, right? So clinical features wise, fracture is an important clinical feature giving rise to pain and swelling. There could be kyphoscoliosis due to numerous fractures in the vertebral column. Preventive measures for osteopenia and osteoporosis include, one is dietary intake, like appropriate intake of calcium and vitamin D. The second is exercise, particularly weight bearing exercises. Thirdly, hormone replacement therapy after ladies undergo menopause. And the treatment of osteoporosis is bisphosphonates. Morphology wise, osteoporosis basically shows histologically normal bone that is reduced in quantity as opposed to rickets and osteomalacia. In rickets and osteomalacia, you saw that osteoid was normal but mineralization of it was less. Here, histologically, it is normal bone, only the quantity is reduced. Common bones to be affected are vertebral bodies, very important. Vertebral bones, therefore, can have compression fractures leading to alteration in the posture of a person. Microscopy wise, osteoporosis is seen as widening of the canals in the bone. This is an X-ray image of the lateral view of the vertebra. To your right, you are seeing an inset of the same image where I have drawn some lines. So that is what anterior wedge compression fracture looks like. So the vertebra have taken up sort of a triangular shape. What has happened basically is, due to reduced bone mass, the vertebra has been compressed at its anterior aspect, giving it a wedge-like shape. So it's called anterior wedge compression fracture. So a patient who has this anterior wedge compression fracture, what would happen to his posture? He would be having a kyphosis. Third and last topic for today is osteopetrosis. So in Latin, petrosus means rocky or stony. The other names for this disease are, one is Albers-Schoenberg disease, second is marble bone disease. It is a genetic disease characterized by reduced resorption of bone, leading to diffuse skeletal sclerosis. Numerous mutations can give rise to osteopetrosis. However, the most important mutation is the gene responsible for carbonic anhydrase 2 enzyme. Because of this mutation, osteoclast function is reduced, giving rise to osteopetrosis. Clinically, severe osteopetrosis presents as fracture or anemia or hydrocephalus at the time of birth. There could also be cranial nerve defects. There could be infections. The cause we'll talk about when I explain the morphology to you. Treatment wise, only one treatment is there, which is hematopoietic stem cell transplantation. Before discussing the morphology, I'll just explain briefly about the development of bone marrow in a bone. The medullary cavity or the bone marrow is formed when osteoclasts, they go and resorb an area of the bone called primary spongiosum. In osteopetrosis, however, you have seen that the genetic mutation makes sure that osteoclasts are not functioning properly, and hence this primary spongiosum is not being resorbed. Because of this, bone marrow is not forming. And the importance of bone marrow you already know. Most of the blood cells are developed in the bone marrow. If there is no bone marrow, then there will be lack of all these progenitor cells, leading to anemia and leukopenia. Morphology wise, affected bones lack medullary cavity. There is a bulbous appearance of the end of the long bone. There's an X-ray sign for it. We'll be talking about it in the next slide. The foramen for nerves are very small, which is why you get cranial nerve defects in osteopetrosis. Microscopy wise, there is woven bone, which is sort of an immature bone, and there is variation in the number of osteoclasts. Variation in the sense, either there could be very less osteoclasts or there could be normal number of osteoclasts, but their function is not proper. This is an X-ray image of osteopetrosis. This is what skeletal sclerosis looks like, and it appears sort of like a marble. So that is why it's called marble bone disease. And this is the radiological sign wherein you see the bulbous ends of a long bone. The name given to this is Erlenmeyer-Flask deformity. To briefly summarize, 3 diseases we have seen. The first is osteomalacia rickets, second one is osteoporosis, third one osteopetrosis. In rickets and osteomalacia, the defect was that calcium and phosphate are not going and sitting in the osteoid properly. In osteoporosis, the defect was that there was reduced bone mass. Osteoid was not being laid sufficiently. On top of that, osteoclastic activity was excess, leading to resorption of bone. And finally, osteopetrosis. In osteopetrosis, bone laying was normal. However, remodeling by osteoclasts was reduced due to reduced osteoclastic function or reduced number of osteoblasts itself.